Hello everyone and welcome to Readings in English, your channel for immersing yourself in the world of the English language in an engaging and meaningful way. English is a global language, a passport to countless opportunities, and a key that unlocks a wealth of knowledge and cultural understanding. Whether you're a beginner taking your first steps or a seasoned learner looking to refine your skills, this channel is designed to support you on your journey. We'll explore the beauty and complexity of the English language through various engaging methods, all while having fun and fostering a love for learning. Today, we're diving into a captivating story that perfectly exemplifies the power of human connection and the transformative potential of kindness. Prepare to be moved by the helping hand, a tale of resilience, community, and the unexpected ways in which a single act of generosity can change lives. This narrative is specifically crafted for learners, employing accessible language and a clear, engaging style. Get ready to improve your English while experiencing a heartwarming and inspiring story. Let's begin. Elias clutched his worn duffel bag, its straps digging into his shoulders. The bus rumbled to a stop, spewing exhaust fumes into the already polluted air of Ashton, a city clinging to its industrial past like a stubborn weed. He stepped onto the cracked pavement, the damp chill seeping into his thin jacket. Ashton wasn't the picturesque haven he'd imagined. It was a city etched with hardship, its buildings scarred by time and neglect. The air hung heavy with the scent of rust and coal dust, a stark contrast to the fresh, rural air he'd left behind. He'd arrived with a suitcase full of hope and a pocket full of dreams, but the city seemed to suck the optimism out of him with every passing moment. He'd envisioned a bustling metropolis teeming with opportunities, but the reality was a grim struggle for survival. He walked the streets, a stranger in a strange land, his footsteps echoing the hollow beat of his anxieties. Each passing building seemed to mock his naive expectations, a stark reminder of the uphill battle he faced. He passed boarded-up shops, dilapidated factories, and people whose faces reflected the same weariness that was beginning to settle over him. The city felt like a labyrinth, its winding streets leading him nowhere. He checked his phone, the low battery icon a grim reflection of his dwindling hope. He had a few contacts, a couple of leads, but the responses he'd received so far had been less than encouraging. As night fell, the city transformed into a darker, more menacing place. The shadows seemed to deepen, the silence broken only by the distant wail of a siren. He found a bench in a small, dimly lit park, the cold seeping into his bones. He pulled out a half-eaten sandwich, its meager contents offering little comfort. The city lights blurred through his tired eyes, the distant hum of traffic a constant reminder of his isolation. He was alone, adrift in a sea of indifference, his dreams fading faster than the light at the end of the day. The following days were a blur of fruitless job hunts, each rejection chipping away at his resolve. He spent hours scouring online job boards, sending out countless applications, only to be met with silence or curt rejections. He tried knocking on doors, offering his services anywhere he could, but most businesses were either uninterested or simply couldn't afford to hire. His initial optimism had waned, replaced by a gnawing sense of despair. His pockets were empty, his stomach constantly aching. He skipped meals, rationing his meager food supplies, his hunger becoming a constant, throbbing companion. He slept on park benches, the cold seeping into his bones, his dreams plagued by visions of empty plates and closed doors. He started to notice the details of the city's poverty, the discarded food wrappers, the overflowing bins, the forlorn faces of the homeless huddled in doorways. He saw the desperation in their eyes, a reflection of his own growing fear. He'd lost count of the number of times he'd been turned away, the sting of rejection becoming a familiar pain. The city, once a beacon of hope, now felt like a suffocating cage. He longed for the familiar comfort of his past life, a longing that only intensified his present misery. He tried to maintain his composure, to keep his spirits up, but the constant hunger and the relentless rejection were slowly breaking him down. He started to feel a sense of hopelessness, a chilling realization that he might be trapped in this cycle of desperation. Each passing day felt like an eternity, each night a relentless battle against the cold and the gnawing emptiness in his stomach. He was losing hope, his dreams dissolving into the grim reality of his situation, his future looking as bleak and uncertain as the city around him. He was alone, adrift in a sea of despair, his only company the gnawing hunger and the chilling cold. Ashton was a city in decay, its grandeur fading like a forgotten photograph. The once proud factories, monuments to a bygone era of industrial might, now stood as skeletal reminders of a lost prosperity. Rust consumed the metal, brick crumbled, and windows gaped like empty sockets. The streets, once bustling with activity, were now scarred with potholes and littered with debris. Elias, in his desperation, started to notice the details he'd initially overlooked. He saw the elderly woman rummaging through trash cans, the young family huddled under a tattered blanket, the weary faces etched with resignation. He saw the quiet dignity in their struggle, a resilience that both inspired and saddened him. He started to see the city not just as a place of hardship, but as a community battling against the odds. He saw the small acts of kindness, the shared smiles, the unspoken understanding between people who knew what it meant to struggle. He saw Mrs. Gable, the owner of a tiny, nearly bankrupt bookstore, meticulously arranging her books, her eyes holding a glimmer of defiance despite the encroaching darkness. he noticed Mr. Henderson, a retired mechanic, meticulously repairing a rusty bicycle for a young boy, his weathered hands moving with a surprising gentleness. He saw the quiet acts of generosity, the shared meals, the offered shelter. He saw the strength in their shared struggle, the unspoken bond between people who understood the meaning of hardship. He found himself drawn to their quiet dignity, their unwavering spirit in the face of adversity. The city was more than just crumbling buildings and empty streets. It was a tapestry of human stories, each thread woven with resilience, hope, and despair. He started to see the beauty in the brokenness, the strength in the vulnerability, the shared humanity in their collective struggle. He began to understand that even in the darkest corners of this decaying city, there was a spark of life, a flicker of hope that refused to be extinguished. One morning, a glimmer of hope pierced through the gloom. He spotted a help-wanted sign in the window of a small cafe, a beacon in the sea of rejection. He rushed inside, his heart pounding with anticipation. The owner, a kindly woman with tired eyes, seemed impressed by his eagerness. She offered him a trial shift, a chance to prove himself. For the first time in weeks, Elias felt a surge of optimism. He worked tirelessly, his movements fueled by a desperate need to succeed. He cleaned, he served, he even managed to charm a few grumpy customers with his genuine smile. He felt a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced in a long time. At the end of the shift, the owner seemed pleased. She promised to call him the next day. Elias walked home, his steps lighter than they'd been in weeks. He allowed himself to dream, to imagine a life free from hunger and despair, but his joy was short-lived. The next day, the owner called to inform him that the position had been filled. Someone with more experience. The words hung in the air, heavy with disappointment. The hope that had briefly flickered within him was extinguished, leaving him feeling even more defeated than before. The weight of his failure pressed down on him, the city's bleakness seeming to intensify. The cafe, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a cruel mockery of his dreams. His optimism, fragile as it was, had been shattered, leaving him adrift in a sea of despair once more. He slumped onto a bench, the weight of his situation crushing him. The city, once again, felt like a suffocating cage. His dreams, so close to being realized, had been snatched away, leaving him with an emptiness that was both physical and emotional. He felt the sting of rejection more acutely than ever before. The cold, the hunger, the loneliness, all intensified by the crushing weight of his dashed hopes. Days bled into nights, each one mirroring the last in a monotonous cycle of hunger, cold, and despair. Elias's meager savings were long gone, and the gnawing emptiness in his stomach became a constant companion. He scavenged for food, his pride slowly eroding with each humiliating act of desperation. He slept in doorways, shivering under the meager protection of cardboard boxes, the biting wind a constant reminder of his vulnerability. The city, once a symbol of opportunity, had become a hostile environment, its indifference a crushing weight on his soul. He felt utterly alone, a forgotten soul lost in the labyrinthine streets. The faces of the city's inhabitants, once a source of fascination, now seemed to blur into a sea of anonymity, each person absorbed in their own struggles, oblivious to his plight. He felt a deep sense of isolation, a profound loneliness that gnawed at his spirit. He yearned for connection, for a kind word, a helping hand, but found only indifference and silence. His thoughts turned inward, dwelling on his failures, his inadequacies, his inability to escape this crushing cycle of despair. He questioned his choices, his decisions, his very worth. He felt a crushing weight of self-doubt, a sense of hopelessness that threatened to consume him entirely. He contemplated giving up, surrendering to the cold embrace of despair. The thought of ending his misery, of escaping the relentless pain, became increasingly tempting. But a small ember of defiance, a stubborn refusal to surrender, still flickered within him. It was a faint spark, almost imperceptible, but it was there, a tenacious refusal to be extinguished. He clung to it, this tiny flame of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It was a whisper against the roar of despair, a tiny voice reminding him that even in the darkest depths of misery, the possibility of hope still existed. He didn't know how, he didn't know when, but he knew that he couldn't give up. He had to fight, he had to survive, he had to find a way to escape the cold embrace of despair that threatened to swallow him whole. He clung to this fragile hope, a lifeline in a sea of despair. Driven by hunger and desperation, Elias stumbled upon a small, unassuming bakery tucked away on a quiet side street. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted from its open door, a tantalizing scent that both comforted and tormented him. He hesitated, his pride warring with his hunger. He was about to walk away, his stomach growling, when he saw an elderly man, his face etched with the lines of time and hardship, emerge from the bakery. The man, Mar. Arthur was small and frail, but his eyes held a surprising warmth and kindness. He was carrying a basket of day-old bread, and Elias, emboldened by desperation, approached him. He explained his situation, his voice trembling with a mixture of shame and hope. "Mr." Arthur listened patiently, his gaze unwavering. He didn't offer words of pity or platitudes. Instead, he offered Elias a warm smile and a piece of bread. The bread was simple, but it was more than just sustenance. It was an act of kindness, a gesture of compassion in a city that seemed to have forgotten how to care. The old bakery, with its worn wooden counters and the scent of yeast and flour, became a temporary sanctuary, a haven from the harsh realities of the street. "Mr." Arthur's kindness was a lifeline, a small spark of hope in the darkness. The simple act of sharing a piece of bread transcended its material value. It was a connection, a shared humanity, a gesture of compassion that Elias desperately needed. The old bakery, with its warm lighting and the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread, represented a sense of hope and community that he hadn't felt in a long time. It was a beacon in the darkness, a symbol of the possibility of human connection. It was a promise of something better, a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair. Mamar. Arthur's bakery wasn't just a place of business. It was a haven, a sanctuary from the harsh realities of Ashton streets. The aroma of freshly baked bread, the comforting warmth of the oven, and the gentle hum of activity created a sense of peace that Elias hadn't experienced in weeks. He sat at a small table in the corner, nursing a cup of steaming tea, the warmth spreading through his chilled body. Mr. Arthur, despite his age, moved with surprising agility, tending to the oven, shaping dough, and attending to the few customers who occasionally drifted in. He spoke little, but his actions spoke volumes. He offered Elias a plate of warm stew, its savory aroma filling the small space. It was a simple meal, but it was a feast to Elias's starved senses. As they ate, a comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the gentle clinking of spoons and the soft crackle of the fire in the hearth. Then, Mr. Arthur began to speak, his voice raspy but steady, recounting his own struggles, his own journey through hardship and resilience. He spoke of his late wife, of the sacrifices they had made, of the dreams they had shared. He spoke of the city's decline, of the loss of community, and of the importance of human connection. His words were simple, but they resonated deeply with Elias, who found himself drawn to the old man's wisdom, his quiet strength, his unwavering faith in the goodness of humanity. Elias, in turn, shared his story, his voice trembling at first, but gaining strength as he spoke. He spoke of his hopes, his dreams, his fears, and his despair. He spoke of his journey to Ashton, his initial optimism, and the crushing reality of unemployment. He spoke of his hunger, his cold, and his loneliness. He spoke of his struggle to find his footing in a city that seemed determined to keep him down. As he spoke, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders, a burden eased by the simple act of sharing his story with someone who truly listened. Mr. Arthur listened patiently, offering words of encouragement and understanding. He didn't offer easy solutions or empty promises. Instead, he offered compassion, empathy, and a sense of shared humanity. The shared meal, the shared stories, forged a bond between them, a connection that transcended their differences in age and experience. It was a connection born of shared hardship, mutual respect, and a shared belief in the resilience of the human spirit. The bakery, once a symbol of Elias's hunger and desperation, had transformed into a place of warmth, comfort, and unexpected friendship. The following days brought a gradual shift in Elias's circumstances. Mr. Arthur, seeing the desperation in Elias's eyes, offered him a job at the bakery. It wasn't a glamorous position, nor was it high-paying, but it was a lifeline. Elias started with simple tasks: cleaning, organizing, and assisting with the baking process. His hands, initially clumsy and unskilled, gradually grew adept at the rhythm of the work. He learned the art of bread making, the nuances of kneading dough, the patience required for fermentation. He learned from Mr. Arthur not just the technical skills of baking, but also the subtle art of human connection, the importance of patience, and the power of quiet observation. He watched Mr. Arthur interact with the few customers who visited the bakery, noting the old man's warmth and generosity. He noticed the way Mr. Arthur remembered each customer's name, their preferences, their stories. He learned from Mr. Arthur that baking wasn't just about creating food. It was about creating connections, fostering community, and sharing a piece of oneself with others. The work was physically demanding, but the sense of purpose it provided was immensely satisfying. He found a rhythm in the routine, a sense of accomplishment in the tangible results of his labor. The money he earned was modest, but it provided a sense of stability that he hadn't felt before. More importantly, the work provided a sense of belonging, a feeling of connection to something larger than himself. He was no longer just a lost soul adrift in a city of strangers. He was a member of a community, a valuable contributor to a small but vital enterprise. The bakery became more than just a workplace. It became a home, a place of warmth, comfort, and belonging. Mr. Arthur's kindness, his generosity, and his quiet wisdom had transformed Elias's life, offering him not just a job, but a chance to rebuild his life, to find his place in a city that had initially seemed so hostile and unwelcoming. He had found hope, not in grand gestures or miraculous events, but in the simple, quiet kindness of an old baker. As the weeks turned into months, a quiet transformation took place within Elias. The constant hunger and gnawing cold that had once defined his existence were replaced by a sense of purpose and belonging. The bakery, once a symbol of his desperation, had become a sanctuary, a place of warmth, comfort, and unexpected friendship. His hands, once rough and calloused from scavenging for food, were now strong and capable, adept at the art of bread making. His body, once weakened by hunger and cold, had regained its strength and resilience. His spirit, once crushed by despair, was slowly beginning to heal. He found a rhythm in the daily routine, a sense of accomplishment in the tangible results of his labor. The simple act of kneading dough, of shaping bread, of sharing the aroma of freshly baked goods with customers brought him a sense of satisfaction that he had never known before. He found solace in the repetitive motions, the rhythmic kneading, a meditative practice that calmed his mind and eased his anxieties. The warmth of the oven, the comforting aroma of baking bread, the satisfying thud of the loaves as they landed on the cooling rack. These simple things brought him a sense of peace and contentment. He discovered a hidden talent, a skill he never knew he possessed. He took pride in his work, in the quality of the bread he produced, in the smiles of satisfaction he saw on the faces of his customers. He started to see the world differently, to appreciate the small details, the simple joys that he had previously overlooked. He noticed the changing seasons, the subtle shifts in the city's atmosphere, the beauty of the sunrise and sunset. He found joy in the simple act of sharing a meal, a conversation, a smile with Arthur, and the few regular customers who frequented the bakery. These small interactions, these moments of human connection, brought him a sense of belonging, a feeling of being part of something larger than himself. He felt a sense of gratitude for Arthur's kindness, for the opportunity he had been given, for the chance to rebuild his life. He understood that hope wasn't something that was simply given. It was something that was earned, cultivated, nurtured, through hard work, perseverance, and the unwavering belief in one's own potential. He had planted seeds of hope, and now he was patiently tending to their growth. The change in Elias wasn't unnoticed. His quiet demeanor, once burdened by despair, now radiated a quiet confidence, a newfound sense of purpose. He became more outgoing, engaging with the few customers who frequented the bakery, sharing a few words, a smile, a moment of connection. He started to notice the struggles of others, the unspoken needs of his fellow citizens. He saw Mrs. Gable, the bookstore owner, struggling to keep her shop afloat, her shelves increasingly bare. He saw the young family huddled under the bridge, their faces etched with worry. He saw the elderly woman rummaging through trash cans, her hands gnarled and worn. He felt a surge of empathy, a desire to reach out, to help, to make a difference. He started by offering Mrs. Gable some of the bakery's leftover bread, a simple gesture that brightened her day. He then volunteered to help her tidy up the bookstore, his strong hands making quick work of the task. He began to notice the small ways he could make a difference, the subtle changes he could bring to the lives of others. He started leaving extra bread for the homeless, a small act of kindness that offered a moment of warmth and sustenance. He offered to repair the young family's broken stroller, his mechanical skills surprisingly useful. He helped the elderly woman with her groceries, his strength a welcome assistance. These small gestures, these acts of kindness, were not grand or dramatic, but they were deeply meaningful. They were born from a place of empathy, from a desire to connect, to share, to contribute. They were a testament to the transformative power of hope, the ripple effect of a single act of kindness. He had received a helping hand, and now he was extending his own, creating a chain of compassion, a network of support within the community. He understood that true strength wasn't about individual success, but about collective resilience, about the power of human connection, about the ability to lift others up along the way. He was no longer just surviving. He was thriving, and in his thriving, he was helping others to do the same. The city, once a symbol of despair, was slowly beginning to transform, one act of kindness at a time. The small bakery, once a haven from the harsh realities of Ashton, was now undergoing its own transformation. Mr. Arthur, witnessing Elias's growth and his burgeoning compassion, decided it was time to share the responsibility. He began to teach Elias more about the business, entrusting him with increasingly complex tasks. Elias, eager to learn and contribute, proved to be a quick study, his hands deftly shaping dough, his mind absorbing the intricacies of baking. He learned about the different types of flour, the precise measurements, the subtle nuances of temperature and timing. He learned about the importance of quality ingredients, the artistry of creating something beautiful and nourishing. He learned about the connection between food and community, the way a simple loaf of bread could bring people together. He learned about the satisfaction of providing for others, the joy of sharing the fruits of his labor. Mr. Arthur, seeing Elias's dedication and his growing confidence, decided to take a step back, allowing Elias to take the reins. He knew that Elias was ready, that he had the skills, the compassion, and the drive to succeed. The bakery became a reflection of Elias's growing confidence and his newfound sense of purpose. He introduced new recipes, experimented with different flavors, and expanded the bakery's offerings. He implemented environmentally friendly practices, sourced ingredients locally, and started to build stronger relationships with his suppliers. He created a space that was welcoming and inclusive, a place where people could gather, share stories, and connect. He fostered a sense of community, transforming the bakery into a vibrant hub of activity. He started offering free bread to the local homeless shelter, a gesture that provided both sustenance and a sense of dignity. He partnered with local charities, donating a portion of his profits to support those in need. He created a space where people felt seen, heard, and valued. The bakery became more than just a place to buy bread. It became a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of human connection and the transformative potential of a single act of kindness. Elias's journey had come full circle. From a place of utter despair, he had found his footing, built his own business, and created a community of support. The changes in the bakery were not confined to its walls. Elias's acts of kindness, his commitment to community, sparked a ripple effect throughout Ashton. His generosity inspired others to follow suit. Mrs. Gable, encouraged by Elias's support, found new energy and creativity, revitalizing her bookstore and hosting community events. Mr. Henderson, inspired by Elias's dedication, began mentoring young people, teaching them valuable skills and fostering their potential. The young family, once struggling under a bridge, found stable housing and employment, their lives transformed by a series of small acts of kindness. The elderly woman, no longer scavenging for food, found a sense of belonging, volunteering at the local soup kitchen. The city, slowly but surely, began to heal, its wounds gradually closing, its spirit renewed. The collective effort of its inhabitants, spurred by Elias's example, created a sense of unity, a shared purpose, and a renewed belief in the power of community. Small acts of kindness multiplied, creating a powerful force for positive change. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers offered support, and the city's collective spirit transformed from despair to hope. The once crumbling streets began to show signs of renewal as people took pride in their surroundings and worked together to improve their community. The city's spirit was revitalized, its residents finding strength in their collective efforts. Elias's journey from despair to hope had not only transformed his own life but had also inspired a wave of positive change throughout Ashton. His actions served as a powerful reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can have a profound impact, that hope can bloom even in the most desolate of landscapes, and that the strength of a community lies in its shared humanity. The city's transformation was a testament to the ripple effect of compassion, a beacon of hope in a world often defined by hardship and despair. The story of Elias and Ashton became a symbol of resilience, a testament to the unwavering power of the human spirit, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can prevail.